Let's jump right in. We've all seen the flashy headlines lately, right? Small towns, sometimes even entire states, offering to pay you thousands of dollars just to pack up your laptop and move there. I mean, on the surface, it feels like free money. But in this explainer, we're going to push past the clickbait and really evaluate the true economic value of these programs. Because once you start peeling back the layers, you discover this wild landscape of hidden costs, complex tax implications, and honestly, some pretty incredible financial strategies.
Now, it almost sounds like a joke, but the contrast between some of these offers is just staggering. On one end, you have Mayfield, Kentucky, a town of about 10,000 people. And one of their relocation perks is, and I literally cannot stress this enough, a free monthly delivery of locally sourced eggs right to your front door. No, seriously. Then, on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you've got Pawnee City, Nebraska. They're literally fighting to maintain their city status so they don't get downgraded to a village. To save their tax base, they're offering a massive cash bribe. So what's really fascinating here is that Pawnee City's $50,000 offer is actually the single largest individual cash incentive out there right now. But there is a massive catch. They don't just hand you a giant check at the city limits. That money is strictly earmarked as down payment assistance for a newly constructed home on an empty lot. And when you factor in that rural Nebraska construction can easily run anywhere from $100 to $160 a square foot, you're still on the hook for a house that costs upwards of $250,000 to build. Which brings us to our first major hurdle, the free land trap. Before you start packing your bags for the promise of free dirt, we really need to look at the hidden costs that can instantly turn these small-town dream offers into absolute financial nightmares. Because, as it turns out, free land is rarely ever truly free. Take Marquette, Kansas, for example. They offer free building lots. Awesome, right? Well, to get the land, you have to commit to building a house of at least 1,000 square feet within a year. Due to local construction costs, that build is going to run you anywhere from $120,000 to $200,000. But here is the truly terrifying part. A journalist dug into this and found that in some of these highly isolated rural areas, new construction actually appraises for way less than it costs to build. You could literally sink $200,000 into building a house that's only worth $15,000 on paper. Let that sink in for a second. The absolute crucial point here is that accepting a free piece of land can plunge you into instant negative equity. You are financially underwater the very second the paint dries. And this exact dynamic is why a similar program in a tiny Minnesota town of 98 people, which offered free residential lots for over a decade, mind you, resulted in exactly one new house being built. One single house in 10 years. Proximity to civilization really matters, and extreme isolation is a massive hidden cost you have to account for.
Okay, let's move on to the next big issue, hidden taxes and real costs.
Let's look beyond the empty lots for a minute and examine a straight cash offer. Take the famous Tulsa remote program, which advertises a flat $10,000 to move to Oklahoma. Well, if we actually sit down and do the math, that $10,000 is fully taxable. The second the IRS takes their cut for federal, state, and FICA taxes, boom, you instantly lose about $2,500 to $3,500. Then, if you're bringing a car across state lines, Oklahoma hits you with a brutal vehicle excise tax that can cost you $1,700 just to register a used car. So suddenly, that $10,000 headline shrinks down to an actual net cash gain of maybe $6,500 to $7,500. But wait. It doesn't stop there. We have to evaluate the long-term living environment too. You're moving to Tornado Alley. Oklahoma homeowners insurance is literally among the absolute highest in the nation because of frequent severe weather. When you combine the taxes, the steep vehicle registration, and the skyrocketing insurance premiums, suddenly that flashy relocation check barely covers your moving van, let alone sets you up for long-term wealth building. Now, don't get completely discouraged, because that brings us to the ultimate tax arbitrage. It's not all bad news at all. In fact, some of these programs are absolute financial masterclasses, but only if you know how to leverage them. Unlike the towns that just hand you a taxable check and cross their fingers, look at what Republic County, Kansas is doing. They attack your living expenses from 5 different angles simultaneously. We're talking a full state income tax waiver, $1,500 a year for student loan repayment, heavy housing incentives for new builds, actual property tax rebates, and an $8,000 cash bonus. They're taking a simple geographic move and turning it into a heavily stacked tax arbitrage strategy. Let's actually quantify that for a second. Over a 5-year period, a single remote worker making $75,000 a year could save over $50,000 just by participating in this program. Your state income tax? Gone. Your student loans? Subsidized. Your property taxes? Rebated right back to you.
This isn't just a fun little relocation perk. This is a maneuver that fundamentally changes your entire financial trajectory, literally just by taking on a Kansas zip code.
All right, let's look at the big leagues with the billionaire blueprint.
See, the programs that actually work best aren't just desperate towns handing out cash. They are highly competitive economic engines, backed by serious data and billionaire philanthropy. Take a look at Ascend, West Virginia. This program was funded by a massive donation from Brad D. Smith. He's the former CEO of Intuit, the company behind TurboTax. So the guy who literally made his fortune on tax software is now doing tax revenue arbitrage at the state level. And check out these numbers. They received 65,000 applications, but their acceptance rate is roughly 1.5%. That makes getting into this program statistically harder than getting accepted into Harvard University. They aren't just taking anybody, they're curating a very specific demographic of high-earning remote workers.
And that Tulsa remote program we mentioned earlier, it actually proves this billionaire-backed model works brilliantly at scale. Funded by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, which is a massive $10 billion entity, Tulsa has successfully relocated 3,500 remote workers. The result? An absolutely staggering $600 million cumulative economic impact. For every single dollar they invest in a worker, it returns $4 straight back into the local economy. And they boast an unbelievable 96% first-year retention rate. I mean, this is data-driven civic engineering at its absolute finest.
So, what does this all mean for you? Ultimately, evaluating these relocation programs requires looking right past the shiny cash offers on the surface. You really have to ask yourself, are you stepping into a vibrant, intentionally designed community like Tulsa or West Virginia? Or are you blindly stepping into a financial trap with instant negative equity in total isolation? As the saying goes, it's the profound difference between a simple real estate transaction and a major life decision. Which leaves us with the ultimate existential risk you have to consider. Before you sign up for free land or before you accept that $10,000 check to move to the middle of nowhere, ask yourself this. If your company issues a strict return-to-office mandate tomorrow, are you prepared to be stuck in a town of 800 people where there is literally no local job market for your skills? Because at the end of the day, taking these deals means taking a very, very long position on your employer.